So there are many videos on the internet right now saying that every DAW produces the same sound. And I can tell you guys from listening to many DAWs over many different systems, whatever the component is that changes the perspective of the sound, it's a different sound. Even when we produce in our DAW versus exporting, it sounds different. And I'm on a Mac right now. So what we're going to do in this video is actually listen to the subtle differences between the DAW. So we're going to use the same components here. We're going to use, these sounds are from my production cheat code called Blueprint. You guys can find it at busyworksbeats.com/blueprint. We're going to use a melody here in our hip hop folder that was kind of inspired by The Alchemist. So we're at 74 BPM. Let's pull this down to 74. Okay, so we're going to stack this over top of a kick. And what I'm going to purposely do in Logic Pro is, to me, Logic Pro is clean. And what I mean is I could push the sound really hard, but it still sounds like polished in a good way. Okay, so let's try to find some drums here. We're just gonna go to our drum breaks kit. What is this, 74 BPM? So let's see what we can find here. Let's just drag this in. Now this is 78 BPM. We're gonna time stretch. So just hit Alt, time stretch this out. All right, so firstly, we're testing out the time stretch, but now let's add some level. I'm not going to talk in the mic because you can see it's influencing the master level here. So let's add an EQ and just turn up the gain here. Let's put it on high quality so that people don't. Let's turn this up. So my observation so far is Logic sounds good when you push it really hard. It still sounds polished and clean. You guys could probably perceive that, but I'll let this play a couple times. Okay, so with the same exact loop, let's do the same exact steps in FL Studio. All right, now we're in FL. Let's grab the Blueprint here. Let's go to the melodies, the hip hop folder. Again, Blueprint is at busyworksbeats.com/blueprint. This melody was made in the style of Alchemist. We're not going to touch the level here. We're just going to change the BPM to, what was it, 74 BPM here. Boom, 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 74. And let's make sure we have that same exact drum break, which I think was number, let me get the exact number, number 1.1. All right, here it is. Boom. So we didn't even touch the volume. Let's double click. We're going to do the same process, time stretch this up to 74 BPM. Let's hear it inside of FL versus Logic. And to get it sitting where it was before, let's pull the gain up so that we're hitting around like 4.9. And if you want an exact meter, because I know people are like, it's not exact. Okay, let's pull up a plugin called Decibel. And we're going to make sure we actually read the actual peak level here. All right, so it says negative 0.7 right now. Let's add about 4 dB. Let's add 3 dB because now we're at 1.2. So I'm reading the value in the top left. This does not sound the same. You can hear it crunching. So listen to the crunch of the kick and how it's falling apart. Let's push it like 0.7 dB more. But you guys can hear that crunch, okay? Run this back. So I'm reading the peak value here. So we're at plus 4.8. It's really in that piano, you hear that harsh crunch. Okay, so let's go all the way back to Logic, and we're gonna hit it the same values here, just to double check since people are obsessed about numbers and all this type of stuff. Here's Decibel, same plugin. We're gonna read the peak values here. something about Logic, it just sounds more cohesive and polished. Again, I'll play it one more time. And keep in mind the buffer lengths are set to the same amount because that does influence, I've noticed, part of the sound too. Okay, so let me just show you guys. So in Logic, we're at 64 samples. I don't even know if I can go that low in FL Studio. We're at 80 samples in FL. So let's, what was it, 64? Let's pull this back to 64 if we can. Okay, we can. Okay, 64, just so it's a fair. Okay. So it's crunchy, but it doesn't feel like it's falling apart in Logic Pro. Let's go back to FL Studio. Like right off the bat, it feels like it's falling apart. It doesn't have as much like height to it, and it feels like the low end is pushed a little harder in FL Studio. So again, I don't know what technical difference, I don't know how to explain it scientifically, but there definitely is a difference. And I'm going to pull up a project that I made the other day because I played it in Apple Music. It sounded so much more open. And if you listen to it in FL Studio, it sounds super small. So let me find that project real quick. Okay, so here's a track we did in the style of Tyler, the Creator. It's an MJ style track. And listen to how open it feels. You can feel the groove. You can feel everything about it. Okay, now keep in mind this track was produced inside of FL Studio. Let's load up the actual FLP. All right, now inside of FL Studio, it sounds very muddy and squashy. Okay, I don't know why it sounds this way inside the DAW, but let's hear the source project file and then I'll play the file from Apple Music here. Okay, now let's play that same exact track inside of the Apple Music player here. So when people introduce the null test, I'm like, how do you compare that? You know, one is exported from the DAW, one is listening through the DAW. And it's not only that, but you have different plugins that handle different things in different DAWs. So like from a real music production workflow point of view, these DAWs are different. It sounds different. Something about FL Studio on Mac sounds very boxed in. It's like it gets to a certain point and then it falls apart. You push the same sound in Logic to that level and it's just supremely clean and polished, even if you make it sound distorted. Like for example, not that we're trying to go down this lane, but let's say we add some distortion to dirty up this track. It will still sound clean. Like even in my voice, it sounds super polished and clean. There's something deeper. There's something deeper than just like the plugins. It's something to do with the processing deeper. I don't know the tech, but let's hear this with the distortion just to show you guys. Even with this aggressive distortion, you can hear it in my voice. It still sounds like there's this like silk cloud over your audio. Now, I'm not sure we can get those same results. Again, this is different because now we're using different plugins, but I just wanted you guys to see in real time. This is what we mean by FL Studio sounds different than Logic Pro and different DAWs like that. And also too, you guys got to remember on Windows, it sounds really good in FL Studio. I think people claim FL Studio 11 is the one that sounds really clean. It has that same type of feel where it's like in Logic, we can feel the audio is very like, it's like a sheet of silk over top the entire audio. Let me turn the EQ off. I just realized I'm screaming. You know, in Logic Pro on a Mac, it feels like there's, again, like I said, a pristine silk covering to the audio. If you go on your PC and you load up FL Studio 11, it has that same type of feel, this openness, this silkiness. As soon as you get into the higher FL Studios, especially on Mac, it just makes your sound feel super boxed in. And I don't know why nobody is approaching this from an in the DAW perspective versus exported from the DAW null test. So let me know what you guys think. I think the final thing I could do technically is pull in the file, group all these tracks to one channel and compare it that way, but that will be a little tedious. But as you guys can see, just in the DAW versus out the DAW. Now there's one setting that I'm curious about. If we go to FL Studio and we go to the audio settings right here where it says mixer resample quality, I think this does influence the sound, because one time I had this on 32 and I was wondering like, why do my beats sound so like not what I'm hearing? Okay. And it's because this was on a low sync. So also when you guys export, make sure you turn that up, because if you don't, it'll just, I sound design with this and I can tell you on a sound design level, it messes with the sound in a way that I can't articulate. Okay. But make sure you guys switch this where it says resample mode to the highest point sync. Anything lower, I found it does not sound good. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And I'm sure there's a technical explanation for all this, but I question all the people doing all these like null tests. Why aren't you listening through the DAW? Like, why are you printing out stuff? We're not talking about printed out stems. We're talking about in the DAW, what does FL Studio sound like? In Logic, what does Logic sound like? So if you guys have follow-up videos, let me know below. But that's my test from Logic to FL. Logic just sounds supreme. It's supremely clean. You could push stuff extremely hard and it still sounds super polished, like a pro mix. Okay, whereas FL stuff just starts falling apart. I guess we could do Ableton. Let me load that up real quick. All right, so we have the same melody and drum kit or drum break loaded up in Ableton Live here. So let's compare all three DAWs. All right, so Ableton Live held the bass a lot more tightly than FL Studio. Now let's do Logic Pro. So to me, Logic Pro held the best execution over the transients, and it compressed the sound or whatever it does when it clips. It just sounds more linear and more tame when it comes to that kick and that bass. So here's FL Studio. To me, this is the worst one. When you push that bass, you really hear it, and it's really bad with the transients. So to my ear, I'm hearing more low end and more transients poking out than the other DAWs. So let me know what you guys hear in the comments below. I'm curious to see, but this is an experiment I wanted you guys to see in real time. This is working off the Mac Mini, by the way. We haven't done a PC test, but if you guys want me to do a PC test, I can only compare Ableton and FL or different versions of FL Studio. So let me know in the comments below. I have to pull out my good old Razer laptop. All right, guys, subscribe if you're new. Peace.